The chandelier in St. Patrick's Cathedral glittered like a frozen explosion, casting diamond flecks across the white roses and silk drapes that framed the aisle. The air smelled of money, rosemary, champagne, and ambition. Harper Quinn slipped through the grand oak doors, her navy dress hugging her frame. Modest but sharp, like armor she'd learned to wear around her family. She was early, always early, a habit born from years of knowing she'd never be invited to linger. Tonight was her sister Lila's wedding, a spectacle designed for Instagram feeds and society pages in Charleston, South Carolina. But for Harper, a rising photographer whose lens had captured raw truths from Brooklyn to Bogota, this wasn't a celebration, it was a stage, and she'd been cast as the invisible extra, again. The check-in desk was manned by a woman with a headset and a smile as tight as her bun. "Name?" she asked, barely glancing up. "Harper Quinn," Harper said, voice steady. The woman's finger traced the guest list, then paused, her brow furrowed, eyes scanning the page like it had betrayed her. "Oh, table 19, she muttered, pointing to a shadowy corner near the exit. Harper followed her gesture. A lone two-top table sat there. One chair, no name card, no champagne flute, just a sad little island in a sea of opulence. Harper gave a thin smile, murmured a thank you, and walked over. She didn't ask why, she didn't make a scene. That wasn't her role in the Quinn family. She sat, crossed her legs, and tried to breathe. Across the ballroom, Charleston's elite mingled in curated elegance, designer gowns, Rolexes glinting, laughter polished to a sheen. Cameras flashed, capturing moments for Vanity Fair's online spread. A waiter glided past with a tray of bubbly, his eyes skipping Harper's table like she was a ghost. She felt it, that familiar erasure, like sitting inside a portrait where the artist forgot to paint her in. Her phone buzzed in her clutch, a client confirming final approval for her latest photo series. Slated for a Time magazine cover. A milestone, a dream. She locked the screen without replying. Here, her victories were irrelevant. Harper's gaze drifted to the head table, where Lila floated in her Vera Wang gown, curls pinned, makeup glowing. Their eyes met for a split second. Harper was sure of it, but Lila's smile never faltered as she turned to her fiancé. Ethan, playing the blushing bride. Harper's chest tightened. She thought back to Lila's 27th birthday in Miami. Harper had flown in from a shoot in Seattle, missing a deadline to make it. She'd gifted Lila a rare Ansel Adams print, signed, worth a month's rent. Lila hadn't even unwrapped it. Instead, she'd fawned over Ethan's diamond earrings, and Harper had faded into the wallpaper. Why did I come? She wondered now. Habit? Guilt? Or some stubborn flicker of hope that one day she'd be seen? The answer didn't come. Instead, a memory did. Thanksgiving 2019. At their mother Celeste's sprawling estate in Mount Pleasant, Harper had spent hours baking a pecan pie, crust from scratch, her fingers still smelling of butter. She'd driven 3 hours through a storm to get there. Celeste barely glanced at it. Store-bought. Harper? Really? She'd said, turning back to her sous vide turkey. Harper had stammered, "It's homemade," but Celeste was already calling for Lila, who'd just posted a filtered photo of their mother on Instagram with the caption #QueenCeleste. The pie sat untouched. Lila's post got 12,000 likes. Harper ate alone at the kids' table. Back in the cathedral, the appetizers arrived. Silver trays gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Waiters moving like synchronized dancers. Foie gras with fig jam. Crab bisque in porcelain cups. Truffle gnocchi that smelled like privilege. Guests cooed, snapping photos for their stories. At table 19, a waiter stopped, eyes averted, and placed a plate before Harper. Cold, uneven, silent, half a dinner roll, a smear of wilted kale. No dressing, no fork, just shame. Served raw. She stared at it, the clink of her single spoon against porcelain louder than the orchestra. A couple at table 18 glanced over, then turned away, their laughter spiking. Someone whispered. Harper didn't catch the words, but she felt them. This wasn't an accident. It was a message, carved into years of silence. Her mother's voice echoed from a call 2 days ago. Harper. You got Lila's text, right? It's important to us. You know what family means. Celeste's tone had been syrupy. But the subtext was clear. Show up. Be useful. Be grateful. Lila's text had been worse. A casual toss into their sparse thread. Can you shoot my wedding? For free. OBVS. Family. Harper hadn't replied. She'd stared at her phone. Thumb hovering. Feeling that old current of entitlement. Of being needed only when it served their narrative. Lila swept by now. Robe swapped for her gown. A vision in white. She saw Harper. Harper knew she did. But her gaze slid past. Landing on a bridesmaid who squealed about her earrings. Harper's hand tightened around her clutch. Where a small silver USB nestled. Warm against her fingertips. She hadn't planned to bring it. Hadn't planned to do anything. But it was there. Like a pulse. Holding secrets she hadn't yet decided to unleash. Then, the moment that cracked the night open. A guest at table 20 fumbled his phone. And as he bent to retrieve it, Lila's phone, left unattended, lit up on the table. Harper's eyes flicked over. A text glowed. Can't wait for tonight. Babe, wedding or not, you're mine. Signed, Nate. Harper froze. The world didn't shatter, it just stopped. She looked across the room. Lila was curled into Ethan's side. Laughing, her hand on his arm. The perfect rom-com heroine. But that text, time-stamped an hour ago, told a different story. Lila wasn't just cheating, she was planning to slip away tonight. On her wedding night, with Nate. Harper's grip on her clutch left crescent moons in her palms. Her pulse roared. She wasn't just invisible to them, she was their alibi. The quiet sister who deflected attention while they played their games. Another memory clawed its way up, her first solo exhibition in Savannah. 3 years ago, the gallery had been ready to sign contracts. Her raw portraits of low-country shrimpers poised to break through. Then, silence. The director's email was curt. We can't proceed. Best of luck. Months later, a mentor whispered the truth. Someone called. Harper. Said you were unreliable. Emotionally unstable. Someone with clout. It was her father, Graham. He'd never cared about her work. But to sabotage it? She hadn't believed he'd go that far. Now, she knew better. Harper stood, needing air. She slipped into a side hallway, pressing her back against the cool marble. But relief didn't come. Instead, another wound reopened. A gallery show in Atlanta. Her first big break. Celeste had called, voice dripping with guilt. We need you for family photos that weekend. It's your grandmother's 80th. You know how rare this is. Harper had cancelled the show. The photos were never used. The gallery gave her slot to someone else. Love, in the Quinn family, came with a leash. She returned to table 19. Numb, moving like she was underwater. Lila appeared, a champagne flute in hand. Her smile a weapon. Everything okay over here? She asked. Voice sugar-coated. She leaned closer, lowering it to a whisper. We kept it simple for you. Harper didn't want to overwhelm. I know you're used to less. Her eyes flicked to the plate of scraps. Then back to Harper. Smile for the cameras, sis. Don't ruin the vibe. She walked off, heels clicking like a verdict. Harper pushed the plate away. The air smelled of lavender and lies. But she had no appetite, not for food. Not for their fake kindness. Not for pretending anymore. Her fingers grazed the USB in her clutch. It felt alive, heavy with truths she'd collected. Lila's stolen photos. Passed off as her own in a Vogue feature. Graham's recorded call to a gallery. Calling her, unmarketable. Celeste's voicemail dismissing her work as a hobby. They'd fed her scraps on purpose. Dressed her in silence for years. But Harper wasn't empty-handed. She'd brought something far less edible. Far more dangerous. The orchestra swelled, signaling the first toast. Harper's eyes locked on the stage. She didn't know what she'd do yet. But a line was forming inside her. Not anger. Not grief. But truth. Sharp and cold. Table 19 was her exile. But it was also her vantage point. And tonight, she wasn't just a guest. She was a witness. The ballroom of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Charleston pulsed with orchestrated elegance. But beneath the crystal chandeliers and clinking champagne flutes, A fault line was cracking. Harper Quinn sat at table 19. Her navy dress a quiet rebellion against the sea of sequins and silk. The silver USB in her clutch felt like a grenade. Its weight grounding her as the wedding of her sister, Lila, unraveled into a spectacle of curated lies. She'd seen the text on Lila's phone, an affair with Nate. Planned for tonight, wedding vows be damned. She'd felt the sting of her family's cruelty, her mother Celeste's dismissals, her father Graham's sabotage, Lila's theft of her art. But now, Harper wasn't just a witness. She was a reckoning. The air thickened as Celeste cornered her near the restrooms. Her Chanel perfume sharp as her smile. Harper, darling, she whispered, her hand a delicate vice on Harper's arm. Let's not ruin the evening. Her voice was velvet, but the threat was steel. If you say or show anything tonight, your career's done. I made one call before. I'll make 10 this time. Do you understand? Harper's pulse hammered, but her face stayed stone. Celeste's eyes narrowed, searching for a crack, but Harper gave her nothing. You're here as a guest, not a martyr. Keep it classy. Celeste turned, her stilettos tapping like a judge's gavel, leaving Harper bleeding beneath the surface, not from new wounds, but from old ones, reopened. She thought of Atlanta, 5 years ago, her first big gallery show. Her raw portraits of low-country shrimpers had caught a curator's eye. Her name set to glow on a wall. Then Celeste called. Family photos. Harper, Grandma's 80th. You know how rare this is. Harper cancelled the show, drove 6 hours, smiled through gritted teeth. The photos were never used. The gallery gave her slot to a trust fund sculptor. Celeste didn't thank her. Graham didn't notice. Lila posted a selfie with Grandma, captioned #FamilyFirst, and got 15,000 likes. Harper's sacrifice was just another Tuesday. Back at table 19, Harper's fingers grazed the USB. It held everything. Lila's stolen photos, passed off as her own in a Vogue feature. Graham's recorded call to a Savannah gallery, calling her volatile, unmarketable. Celeste's voicemail dismissing her work as cute, but not serious. And now, the text from Nate, timestamped, undeniable. They'd dressed her in silence, fed her scraps, used her as a prop. But silence was a choice. And Harper was done choosing it. The MC tapped the mic, the crowd hushing as the lights dimmed. Harper stood, her hands steady, and walked to the AV booth. The MC, a nervous guy in a too-tight tux, clutched a printed schedule. There's one more story the guests need to see, Harper said, her voice calm but unyielding. He blinked, flustered. I don't think that's on the, it is now. She cut in, cue it, or I will. He swallowed, eyes darting to the stage manager. Then nodded. Where's the file? Harper handed him the USB. Her heart a drumbeat but her steps sure. As she returned to her table, the room buzzed with curiosity. Heads turning, whispers rippling. The projector screen lowered. Lila, mid-laugh with Ethan, froze. The first frame appeared. Lila at her engagement party, arm in arm with Ethan, smiling for the cameras. Then, a cut to her slipping away, smirking at her phone. The text flashed, bold and brutal. Can't wait for tonight. Babe, wedding or not, you're mine. Nate. Gasps sliced through the ballroom like shattered glass. Ethan's face drained, his hand dropping from Lila's. Harper's voice came next, clear and measured. They dressed me in silence. I returned the favor with clarity. Clips followed, each a dagger. Celeste tossing Harper's homemade pecan pie into the trash at Thanksgiving, muttering, next time, buy from Whole Foods. Their crust is decent. A voicemail from Celeste. We'll reschedule your show. Harper, Grandma's in town. Be flexible. The show was never rescheduled. Graham's voice, clipped and professional. She's talented, but unstable. Not someone you'd trust with a brand. Lila at a rooftop party, wine glass in hand. Harper's so dramatic. Art's cute, but we're the ones with real lives. Right? The final frame zoomed in on the seating chart. Table 19. One chair, no name. Ethan stood, his expression not angry, not confused, just done. Did you ever love me? He asked Lila. Barely audible. Her mascara smudged, her hand reaching for him. But he stepped back. One step, then another. He slipped his ring off, placing it on the table with a quiet clink, and walked out. The Winston matriarch, Ethan's mother, rose, her pearls gleaming like armor. "This family has no honor," she declared. "You nearly tied us to fraud." Her husband nodded, and they followed Ethan, their exit surgical, devastating. Lila collapsed into a chair, her gown heavy, wrinkled, wrong. Her phone buzzed. Texts from sponsors. "We're pausing all content. Too much exposure. Not the good kind." Her publicist's voice crackled through speakerphone. "Lila, you're radioactive. Go offline. Now." Guests murmured, some slipping out, jackets in hand. The dance floor stayed empty. Harper walked to the mic. Uninvited, her voice ringing clear. "You called me dramatic, difficult, disposable, but I was just inconvenient." To everyone who watched and said nothing, "Congratulations, you saw it. You heard it, and you'll carry it with you. You dressed me in silence. Tonight, I wear my own voice." A beat of silence, then a clap, two, a wave, not thunderous, but real. Lila's voice, small and shaky, broke through. "What did you do to me?" Harper didn't turn. "I just stopped letting you do it to me." The fallout was swift. Celeste called the next morning, her voice scratchy, desperate. "Harper, we all said things we didn't mean. Can we meet? Talk?" Harper recognized the tone, not remorse, but damage control. "I've said what I needed to," she replied, publicly. She hung up. A week later, a letter arrived, Graham's handwriting neat but hollow. "We hope you'll understand what we tried to do." It was the last she heard from them. She didn't need their apologies. She needed release, and she'd found it. Months later, a rainy Tuesday in March, Lila showed up at Harper's Charleston studio. No makeup, hair limp, jacket soaked. "I'm not here to explain," she said. "Good," Harper replied, standing in the doorway. "I need work," Lila admitted, her voice stripped of its old knives. Harper studied her, not for beauty, but for intent. "Show up early," she said finally. "You'll clean. You'll be invisible for a while. And you'll earn your way into the frame." Lila nodded. No fight left. That spring, Harper unveiled her new series, Reborn in Focus, at a waterfront gallery. The walls held portraits of resilience, shrimpers, single mothers, herself. She stood in the center of her own photo, sharp, unapologetic, a handwritten note beneath, "Truth, framed by my own hand." Guests raised glasses to "The family you make," their clinks echoing. Lila swept quietly in the back, unnoticed, earning her place. Later, alone on her studio's rooftop, Charleston's skyline soft under a crescent moon, Harper held an old photo, her at 10, Lila at 12. Lila center stage in a ballet costume, Harper cropped at the shoulder. Out of focus, she traced the edge, then let it go. The wind carried it away. Her phone buzzed. A voicemail from Celeste. "I hope you'll forgive me." "Not for me. For you." Harper didn't delete it, but she didn't call back. Some things were meant to be remembered, then released. Harper's story isn't just hers. It's for anyone who's shrunk at the edge of someone else's spotlight, waiting to be enough. She built her own table. Not out of revenge, but out of truth, clarity, and the quiet love we give ourselves when no one else will. So, what truth are you swallowing? What story's stuck in your throat, waiting to be told? Share it. The world's listening.